Alright guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to build the ultimate charged shotgun Vanguard build because so many people have been requesting this. For a little bit, I was trying to tell myself that I wanted to do off-meta builds, that I wanted to do things that were, innovative, combine different mechanics, and this is something that I consider to be extremely mainstream. However, so many people are so into this playstyle, I figured I would take my stab at trying to make the best version of this build as possible, and what I've come up with I think is extremely fun to play and extremely powerful. I'm going to walk you through all the core mechanics. I'm going to explain where to find certain core, mechanisms and mods and augmentations that you need, and then I'll kick it over to some live gameplay. The three main active abilities are going to be Turbocharge, Annihilation, and Charge. Charge being the most important, so we'll begin with that. For the Charge ability, you're going to select the three basic ones, and then for rank 4, you're going to go with extra damage and extra force. Then after that, you're going to go with increased gun damage by 15% for 3 seconds after you charge. This is critical to the build. You absolutely need to choose this. And then for the rank 6 ability, I have gone with increased damage resistance since you will be close quarters and oftentimes soaking a good chunk of damage after you do charge in on an enemy. And then increased shields restored as well as increased damage. You can mix up some of this, but the integral part is the increased weapon damage for 3 seconds after you charge. This is going to be your main ability. You'll be firing this off to begin every single combo, and this will be recharging because of certain augmentations in your gear after every kill. You're going to be bouncing from enemy to enemy, and this is an extremely powerful ability that the whole build revolves around. Your second active ability is the Annihilation skill, and this is going to be a passive in most situations because you'll pop it and activate it at the beginning of fights and leave it active for the entire duration. In the Annihilation talent, you're going to spec into, for rank 4, increased damage radius. This pairs very nice with the rank 6 talent. You're going to spec into 20% additional damage to targets from all sources that are afflicted by Annihilation. Again, very important for boosting weapon DPS and synergizes really well with the build. And then for rank 6, you want Draining Field. Partially restoring shields for all allies, including yourself, when an enemy within 8 meters dies that is affected by Annihilation by 30%. This will increase your shields by 30% whenever an enemy that you are close enough to that Annihilation is affecting them dies. It does not have to be killed by the Annihilation skill itself. Last up for active abilities is Turbocharge, and since there's a few future mechanics that we haven't really discussed yet, you are not going to spec into recharge speed at all. Your rank 2 talent, you can't really avoid its 10% recharge speed, but once you get to rank 4, you're going to avoid it. You don't want 20% recharge speed here, you absolutely want 50% duration. For rank 5, you want increased damage. You don't need to really care about accuracy and stability. It's not going to be a factor. You're going to be close range anyway the majority of the time. And then for rank 6, you want Turbocharge. The rate of fire is absolutely great, and because of one of the gun augmentations that you're going to be using, you're not going to be worrying about clip size. So you absolutely want Supercharge for your rank 6. For your profile, run with the Soldier class. This will increase your weapon damage, which synergizes quite nicely, and then Marksman's Focus will actually synergize very well if you can charge fast enough and gain the kills fast enough, which is doable with the build, though it is a bit tricky at times. It grants an escalating damage bonus for every target killed in a short time, and this can stack up to very high numbers. Next up, I'm going to gloss over all the different passives, and it's largely unimportant which ones you spec into first. All of them can be beneficial for different reasons, so I'll just go over what I chose first and why, and then you guys can pick, it's user's preference, what you want to spec into and when, but all of these will be beneficial. I'll only go over the ones that make the biggest impact on the build overall. I would recommend starting maybe with offensive biotics for one specific reason, and that is the rank 6 talent, with giving 15% weapon damage bonus for 3 seconds after using a biotic skill. You're going to be charging at basically every single enemy that you engage, and after that charge, you're going to have additional increased weapon damage, not just because of the charge itself, but also because of offensive biotics, so I recommend speccing in here. Outside of that, it's largely unimportant what you choose, but this rank 6 is what I consider to be the most important part of that passive tree. After that, maybe Barrier. You can spec in and grab the rank 6 of shields restored at low health 100%, low health threshold 25%. That's just a decent survivability tool, but again, it's largely unimportant. Not many of these things are going to drastically affect the potency of the build. Containment is good if you want to go all the way over and grab biotic area of effect radius. Also in the rank 4, you have 15% biotic area of effect radius. This is going to affect your Annihilation ability, so it will boost your offensive capabilities, also your defensive capabilities, because you'll be recharging more of your shield more of the time if something dies while afflicted by Annihilation, but again, largely unimportant if you choose that first, second, or third. Moving on to the combat tree, you're going to spec into shotguns. This is very important, but it doesn't have to be something that you do right away. You can prioritize this when you get to it, when you have the stat points. But shotguns, you're going to spec all the way up to increased damage. Nothing else is really important here. You don't need clip size very much. Shotgun clip size isn't that important. Reload speed, also not important, considering the fact that you have a mechanism that will allow you to have infinite ammo on your shotgun, and you won't ever have to reload. So you don't need to spec into reload speed, but also clip size isn't really going to affect you. What it does do is cut down on the amount of damage that you're taking from the bioconverter, which I'll talk about in just a minute here, but largely unimportant. Then you have increased spare ammo. That is going to be a factor. You do not have limitless ammo because you're not going to be using a vintage heatsink with this build. So you can get some spare ammo here and there. But again, shotguns you do need to spec into for the increased damage, but it doesn't have to be right away. Then you can spec into sniper rifles. If you're not using a sniper, you can spec into assault rifles or pistols. Doesn't matter. But what you need to do is beef up your combat tree. When you beef up your combat tree, you level up your actual profile, which will give you more base weapon damage in 100% of fights. Combat fitness is going to help in some situations. Low damage threshold resistance of 200. That's very helpful. Increasing your health regen, the cap, as also the speed, the pace at which you regen health is also going to be great, but not critical to the build. And then for combat tools, I just spec'd into this to beef up my combat tree. Not really important. Next up is your weapon, and this is a very important choice when it comes to how efficient the build can be. I would highly recommend the Dawn shotgun from the Helios research tree. This is nicknamed the Requiem in my case, but it is a Dawn shotgun variant type and it has very, very high base damage. This is subjective based on how you build, but even early in the game, the Dawn has insanely high base damage and it's easy to acquire. It doesn't require that much research data. Even the first one that you craft is very strong, and this is the best choice for the build to make it function at max efficiency. As you can see, very high base damage, not a great clip size, rate of fire is okay, but overall, it is going to be something that is extremely powerful. Now, for the augmentations, that is just as important as the weapon choice itself. You want the bioconverter. Now, the bioconverter can also be purchased from the Helios research tree for 50 research data. That's very cheap, very inexpensive. You can get that almost right away when the game starts. Pick that up as soon as possible and then equip it into the gun when you craft it. What this does is it drains 5% of your health to refill the clip. This means you have a 100% uptime on firing this shotgun, even though you will lose a little bit of health. That's compensated for by the fact that you have the combat tree, increased health regeneration cap, and you can shred through enemy targets just with 100% uptime, never having to reload your gun. Outside of that, I have 2 weapon augmentations for 5% biotic power damage, though those would be better served if I had 2 more 3% weapon damage bonuses. The other 2, like it lists there, are 3% weapon damage, and I would prefer to have 4 of them, but overall, this gun does get the job done. Moving on to armor, most of it is very straightforward. You just want to prioritize weapon percentage damage wherever possible. On your helmet, you can get some with the right one. I have 5% here. On your legs, you can get some. I also have 5% there. On your arms, an additional 4%. And then for the chest piece, it gets a little bit more complicated. Now, what you are going to absolutely need is the fusion mod of adrenaline. Now, the fusion mod of adrenaline is something that's easy to miss, so here it is. The place to find this extremely important armor mod is on the Havarl planet. Now, as you can see, my character is between these 2 outcroppings. It's on the map exactly where my character is. There's going to be a small cave here. So you're going to navigate your character to this waypoint. You're going to scan this remnant console. There's one enemy that you have to kill right in front of it. Very easy to do. And then you're going to backtrack out here over to one of the outcroppings, and you can see these little jump pads on the side of it. Now, sometimes it can take you a little bit of time to get up there, but once you do get up there, you're going to find another remnant console. So once I do finally get up here, I'm just going to demonstrate one, and then you guys can do the rest. Once you do get up here, there's another remnant console. You're going to activate this, and then it's going to activate something on this other outcropping. So all you do is you jump down, and then you follow the exact same jump pattern as you just got up to this platform with. Over there, you're going to get to the top, there's going to be a gravity well. You're going to activate the gravity well, you're going to shoot across the map to another little platform over there somewhere. Then you're going to activate that console with a decryption puzzle. Very simple, it's one of the easier ones in the game. Then you're going to activate another gravity well, and you're going to shoot off to somewhere else on the map entirely. It's very easy. It's just going to control your character and whisk you away. And you're going to pick up this fusion mod, which is so important for the build. It's very easy to find. It actually is easy to get glossed over. A lot of players may miss this, but it is right now and possibly will be in the future, even though they're probably going to downtune it, one of the most important and powerful modifiers in the game. Now, why is the fusion mod of adrenaline just as important as it is? Well, it's because it refunds 100% of active cooldowns on every single kill. That's super, super powerful. Now, it does have a downside of negative 50% all power recharge speeds. Some people may look at that and turn their nose up and say that they don't want to deal with that. And in some situations, they may be right. That can be a downside. But in our situation, it does not matter at all. You can zoom around the battlefield, getting a kill, instantly recharging all of your abilities, including charge, zooming off to another enemy, instantly melting it with over 2,000 damage in your Dawn shotgun with no reload time. able to fire those off as fast as you can pull the trigger almost when you have turbocharge active. All in all, this is the most important premise in the build, this fusion mod, and though I do believe that it's likely they will downtune this or change it or nerf it because it is way too strong, right now it's super fun to use. Very quickly, the last thing to note about your chest piece is that when you're crafting it, there is an augmentation to give you 25% increased shields on enemy killed. This pairs very nicely with Annihilation to give you 55% of your shields back every time you kill a target. Not only that, but you refund 100% of your cooldowns every time you kill a target, so you can just bounce from target to target, initiating with charge to regen all of your shields, and then when you kill the target with 2,000 damage per shot from your Dawn, you'll regenerate 55% of your shields, and then completely refund the cooldown on the charge ability itself. This is a super powerful build, and now I'm going to kick it over to some live gameplay. As you can imagine, in live gameplay, all of the synergies are extremely fun to play. Now, tons of people, a tremendous amount of people have been asking me for something like this. They've always been recommending builds like this. And up till now, like I said in the beginning of the video, I've been ignoring them a little bit, trying to assemble, I would say, off-meta or off-color builds that are a little bit different. But this one is that much fun to play. I see why they're recommending it. I highly recommend it to other players. And if you're struggling to complete Insanity difficulty in Mass Effect Andromeda, this is the way to go. You can just jump through the content in a really fun, dynamic way, and excel through killing pretty much everything. There is one area where the build does break down slightly, and that is if you are not able to kill the enemy that you targeted with your burst damage, which is pretty much not true of any enemy in the game. You can kill almost anything out there. Except for maybe fiends, except for maybe some of the enemy bosses. You can't really kill them in one, initial burst of 3 seconds of damage. But most other enemies in the game, if not every single other enemy in the game, you can kill with 3 seconds of damage and recharge your abilities. So you have to be a little bit careful. If you aren't able to kill it and refund your cooldowns, you are slightly vulnerable, but you're still going to be gaining 55% of your shields every time you get a kill. And every time you do get that kill, then you're back to being nearly invincible because you can just charge off to another location and completely refund your entire shield bar. So it's a very, very strong build. The basic rotation, I would say, is you pop your turbocharge immediately. You always want to have that active as soon as it's off of cooldown. And then you're charging in on a target. You're going to have Annihilation active at all times. You're never going to turn that off. That's just going to constantly be providing utility. But you have turbocharge off of cooldown, activate it whenever you can, and then charge from enemy to enemy. And then immediately after you charge, fire off a couple Dawn Blasts and kill them. You're never going to have to reload because of the bioconverter. You're never really going to be in danger because of your increased health regeneration cap and your health regeneration speed from the combat tree. You have crazy damage from the Dawn shotgun because of all the different synergies, all the different snapshotted bonuses. And you can just jump around, as you can see in the background footage, from enemy to enemy, just face melting everything. This is a preferred style for a lot of players. A lot of people out there, again, have recommended it to me. I hate to sound like a broken record, but people have really been, harping on this build and how fun it is, and the basic premise, I would say. And this is my stab at creating the best possible version of something that I know a lot of people playing this game are really interested in. I was never a buff on the previous Mass Effect games. I know that this kind of style definitely existed. A lot of people were trying to replicate that. So again, I tried to make my stab, or my attempt at creating a build that functioned like that and gave all that enjoyment in the best possible way to everyone that does enjoy this playstyle and does want to see it, and did need advice on how to play it. Hopefully it's great stuff. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, check out the content below, the links below, get integrated with Upper Echelon in a variety of different ways. We have a whole bunch of expansion initiatives going on right now. I thank you all for listening. I thank you all for watching. And as always, have a nice night.